Welcome to Parallel Session 2 of the 7th International Language and Language Teaching Conference in this Zoom meeting. My name is Hannah as moderator. I am a 7th semester student of English Language Education Study Program. I will be in charge of this parallel session. Before we start the parallel session, let me read the rules. First, each presentation will last for 15 minutes. Second, 3 presentations will be delivered in a row. Third, we will have Q&A session after the presentations have finished. Fourth, other rules can be found in the program book. Okay, so there are 3 presentations in this room by Christina Kristiani, Irene Anggita Dinaya, and Anissa Agra Anggitachna. Okay, let's start with the first presentation entitled Online Teaching Practice Activities for Preparing the Student Teachers to New Learning Contexts. It will be delivered by Christina Kristiani from Sanata Dharma University. Ms. Nani, you have 15 minutes for your presentations. So without further ado, Ms. Nani, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bu Nani.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Pak Marcos. So in this occasion, I would like to share my experience, especially in the first 3 months of this pandemic situation. And my study is related to online teaching practice activities for preparing the student teachers to the new learning context. Okay. So I'm going to go to present the presentation by using this flow. And I'm going to begin with the context. So I'm teaching in one of the study programs under the Teachers Training and Education Institution. And then as we know that working in this institution, we are actually trying to facilitate the students to become teachers who will have to be able to master the subject related skills and also the teaching skills. And usually in the normal situation, I would say normal, we are sending them to schools to be familiar with the school activities, and we also facilitate them to have ample exercise and practice their teaching. So we have teaching simulations, we have planning lessons and assessment, and then we also have teaching opportunities with their peers and then teaching their juniors. But when we have the pandemic, this situation has made big effects in the education field, including this teachers training institution. Okay, so changing from online to offline in normal situation, the process takes time. But during the pandemic situation, how will we do it? Okay, so if we have normal situation, changing our point of view or our practice from the offline to online, so sorry, it should be offline first to online, we need to have enough, enough ability and then also spend times to do it. And also when we come to this pandemic situation, we need more opportunities. Now, that is why the shift from offline class to online class brings some challenges for the student teachers, especially. I'm going to call them student teachers to practice their teaching skills in preparation to the minor internship. Sorry, my screen is blocked by the chat. Would you please, maybe the committee can accept the people who are in the waiting room. Thank you. Okay, so that's why my study will cover 3 focuses. The first one is I'm going to share some challenges faced by our students and also faced by the lecturers in the first 3 months of the pandemic situation. And then also I'm going to share the online activities provided in 2 subjects for the teaching practice. And I'm going to explore and share how those activities develop the students' teaching skill. Okay, so there are some underlying theories that I use in my talk. First is that the online teaching needs to facilitate students to own their learning, because when they own their learning, they can become more creative. Okay, they can cultivate their interests. Okay, and they become problem solvers, and they can also become self-directed learners. Okay, there are some principles of good online assessment that I also try to use to see the online activities we use in the first 3 months, and also some tips for evaluating students learning online. And I also take classroom interaction theories from Moore, which cover 5 types of engagement. Okay, so in doing my research, I'm using small survey and document analysis, including the students' reflection, lectures notes on the learning plan and reports, and discussion notes among the parallel lectures. And I'm using 2 classes. In last semester period, I am using micro teaching class and English for young learner class. So I'm going to show you some pictures, but I already asked my students permission to show some pictures of the situation I took in their class. And also I'm going to show you some of the products produced by my students with their permission also. Okay, so related to the first question is about challenges faced by the students. Here is the student teacher and then the lecturers in the first 3 months of the pandemic situation. Before the pandemic starts, the class has started for about 1.5 months in our university, and that's why the students already experience some offline classes with also practicing their teaching skills. So here is the situation. I took this one in the micro teaching class, and then in the English for young learner one class only. So they already practice their teaching skills. These 2 pictures are representing situation in the micro teaching class, and the 2 pictures in the middle, they are classes in my English for young learners class. So they already practice their teaching skills in the beginning of the semester. Okay, so after the pandemic came, so we really had some challenges from the lecturers. We need to change the plan, and then the plan also have to facilitate the students to practice their teaching. And then we also think about how to give experience as if they were going to have online class as well as offline class. Okay, we need to make sure that they have these 2 skills. And then we also think about how to evaluate their performance, how to give the student teachers feedback, and also how to give them chance to see the young learner classes, because usually we send them to school, to kindergarten, or maybe to elementary school. And it is not easy to change the plan in the middle of the semester. Okay, and here are some challenges faced by the students. They also express the challenge related to how to practice their teaching and how to use the teaching equipment. It is not easy to use what they had in their house, and it is easier to use the teaching equipment available in campus. They also had challenge to interact with their students in quotation mark. At that time, the use of virtual meeting was not yet familiar, but if it is so, the effectiveness might not be what is it? Uh, uh, um, this one is might not be effective either from different point of view. And then they also have the challenge of how to do the questioning skills and reinforcement skill, as well as classroom management skills, because they don't have any students. Okay, so here I quote from a student in the reflection. Okay, then I will go to research question number 2 about the online activities that we try to provide during the first 3 months of the pandemic situation. We are trying to use the technology to facilitate the student teaching practice and also to facilitate the feedback both from the lecturers and the classmates. And I took 2 considerations proposed by Walker related to the realistic time frame, and also to the purpose of the assignment. So here is things that we have. So in the English young learners, we ask the student to imagine being the young learner teachers during this current situation. So they produce this material related to COVID-19. Okay, and this activity were designed to boost their engagement with the content as well as with the learning community. Okay, and then these are examples of how the student and student engagement is built in the online class. So they need also to interact with other students. Here, they interact with each other.
Sorry, Miss, your time is 5 minutes left.
Yes, thank you. And then here are some micro teaching classes activity, and my students are actually here. Some of them I see it from the Zoom participant. Thank you for sharing with me your experience last semester. And they practice without audience. They use available facilities at home. They make handmade whiteboard, and they use TV monitor to replace the LCD projector. And they upload those videos in YouTube. Okay, and my last research question is related to how the activities help the lecturers to develop the students' teaching skills. So by doing so, actually we train them the skills needed for the teaching. We still teach them, let's say in the English for Young Learners class, we still teach them songs and games, and we ask them to practice by singing the song and also doing the game. There are so many songs that I ask them to practice and send the song through the group chat. And then the games, I also ask them to do the games. At that time, if I'm not mistaken, we were playing handman game. Okay, and I quote from my students that they really prepare themselves in this online situation. Okay, so here is some song and games that we had in class. And then I come to the conclusion. So in relation to my 3 questions in this study, the challenges in the practice teaching are related to the ability to pose questions and also to give reinforcement. It is because they don't have audience, even though in the second test, they are trying to involve the family member. I do not post the pictures here. And then also related to the classroom management skill, because they can only involve, for example, 3 to 4 people from their family. And number 2, the online activity use the technology to facilitate the students' teaching practice and feedback from both the lecturer and the classmates. And the last one, Those activities prepare them still cover the offline as well as the online teaching skills. And that will be my last point. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to give the time back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Nani. That was an insightful presentation. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next presentation. It is the second presentation entitled Tensions, Contradictions, and Ambiguities of Online Learning in the Graduate Program of English Language Education. It will be delivered by Irena Anggita Denaya from Sanata Dharma University. For the presenter, you have 15 minutes. So, Ms. Denaya, the floor is yours. The display is too big, miss. You can zoom it in.
All right, in this occasion, we would like to present our research on tensions, contradictions, and ambiguities of online learning in the graduate program of English language education. My name is Irena Anggita.
Yeah, we couldn't see your screen clearly because it is too big. You might want to zoom it in, minimize the display, the presentation.
Wait.
It's okay. Yes, it's clear, miss. Okay. Yes, thank you.
All right, my name is Anggi, and I will be presenting with my partner Stella and Mr. Marcos Budi Raharjo. In this research, we investigated two problems. The first one is what tensions, contradictions, and ambiguities found in the course, especially given the limitations of COVID-19 pandemic. The second one is how did the students cope with a set of contradictions, tensions, contradictions, and ambiguities found in the course, especially given the limitations of COVID-19 pandemic. In doing this research, we employ chat theory or cultural historical activity theory by Storm 1987 as our theoretical framework. Originally, chat had come from activity theory by Lev Vygotsky in the 1930s. Why do we utilize this framework? It is because we are interested in understanding and analyzing the relationship between the human mind, or what people think and feel, and activity, or what people do. In other words, we intend to draw connections of various events during a certain course. Chat has a couple of principles. One, all human activities are social in origin. Two, all human activities are mediated by tools. Basically, there are two kinds of tools. The first is primary tools such as cell phone, internet connection, computer, gadgets, and paper. Second is secondary tools including language, ideas, thoughts, symbols, and academic literacy skills. Three, human act within the frame of social conventions or mediations, yet the process of defining and redefining meanings throughout all human activities inevitably causes tensions, contradictions, and ambiguities. Four, role of research by utilizing chat is to describe all the complexities involved in the activity systems. Therefore, it should be evident that the activity systems refer to the graduate course entitled Curriculum from Planning to Evaluation, which is still underway in this semester from September until December 2020. This is the diamond-shaped picture of chat. As you can see from the picture, it clearly shows how the subject, in this case are the graduate students, interact with the object or their own performance and academic engagement. The interactions are mediated by some factors such as tools, rules, community, and division of labor. Mediating tools are symbols, sign, and conceptual understanding that serve as physical and psychological tools. A community is the social and cultural group that subjects are a part of. The division of labor defines how tasks and responsibilities are shared among system participants as they engage in an activity. And the result of these interactions are the learning outcomes, which is about the academic literacy skills.
Through this slide, I will explain the research methods that will be used in this research. So this research will apply a qualitative approach. The type of the data that gathered by the researchers were from LMS that include the lesson plan, midterm course evaluation, and FGD. In this research, the data were collected and analyzed by doing multiple readings of LMS to gain the pattern of how the course was organized, describing the statistic of midterm course evaluation according to thematic issues. And then the last one is summarizing some thematic issues in FGD minute. Then the subjects and the participant includes 4 students and 4 researchers. So the students will become the participants are carrying unit identities. The first student becomes a representative of a well-seasoned English teacher. So the second student becomes a representative of a master student that has different academic culture. The third student becomes a representative of a master student that has just graduated. And the last is a representative from different background of previous education. And then the instrument that we will be used in this research is to collect the data first. The first one is the researchers as human instruments, and then the Excel data. And then the last one is the open-ended questions in FGD. All right. And then in this slide, before we go to the discussion, we would like to explain the findings and then the discussion through this table. In identifying the factors that act as role in mediating the subject with the object, the researcher will explain 4 main factors, and then those factors are tools, rules, community, and division of labor, which latter show the 2 opposite poles as a result of mediating factors that describes the challenges or sources of tensions and the potentials or advantage. Okay, so through this slide, we will discuss about the tool first. The first mediating factor is tools. In tools, we divide it into primary tools and secondary tools. The challenges in the primary tools showed a normative data that includes the unsupportive devices and limited internet data of the students in online learning process. Then the challenges in the secondary tools are the lack of academic skills, which related to the lexical density or the linguistic complexity in written or spoken, and the concept of certainty that we have, and then the different epistemological routes. Like, for example, in philosophy, the approach includes 3 concepts, which are see, discern, and act that is not really applicable in MPBI. And the last one is academic patterns in doing the paper, which is still not yet complete in curriculum class. Besides the challenges that appears in the primary and the secondary tools, the potentials also appear as they mediate the subject toward the object. From the primary tools, we believe that LMS is both interesting and challenging medium to introduce the modular or gamification method in submitting the task, to provide the video lectures, and to learn from each other toward the written responses in forum. Then the secondary tools also mediate the subjects toward the object with some advantages in maintaining in their mental health, providing more effort in understanding the text by rereading it, forming a draft before submitting the final writing, and applying mnemonic method not only in learning, but also in teaching outside of the campus. Then the next one. This slide will present about the factor that mediate the subject toward the object in terms of rules. The challenge that mediates in rules are the finding on the lack of training in high order thinking skills that causes a huge gap between the previous schooling experience with the current reality. The gap includes the different culture on learning in the undergraduate and the master, and the previous background knowledge that influence the students to view some issues in education. And then the potentials that we found in here, how the students are obligated to utilize the LMS as source of learning, managing the task, actively engage in academic activities, and the last is to carry out the meeting as scheduled.
In the third mediating factor, which is community, we found challenges such as first is communicability. Many explanations and elaborations of ideas, which are usually communicable through direct conversations, meetings, or tangible activities, become hardly communicable through technologies. However, it is worth noting that the lecturer has anticipated the limitations of communicability. As evident from the LMS, communicability was said to be mediated by utilizing technology and by assigning students to work in groups to develop shared understandings in order for them to learn to teach and to develop video lectures. Second is absence of community support, which resulted to being reluctant in asking for help both to teachers and peers. However, on the other hand, the potentials found in these mediating factors are some students attempt to meet to do shared assignments and also to utilize communicative skills to negotiate burden with authorities. Now we are coming to the last mediating factor, which is divisions of labor. The challenges.
Your time is 5 minutes left.
Thank you. Found in this factor are first, there is one student who has multiple roles as a full-time teacher and a graduate student. It was evident from the student's challenges that the student encounters problems in time management and task load. Second is incomplete task definition in terms of graduate reading skills. We found that there is a perception gap in mastering reading, particular reading. In the graduate program, reading is just one source of knowledge, and graduate students are expected to bring forward their own life experiences as major resource of learning as well. And the potentials found in this mediating factor are first, holding a high degree of commitment to doing the best so as not to take shortcuts. Second, encouraging written rather than oral responses by means that the students invest more time to think. And the last one is stimulating students' awareness of their own limitations in order to expand themselves as graduate students in education major.
So finally, we arrive to the conclusion in here. So we offer some conclusions in here. The first one is pandemic era has brought unprecedented challenges for the first year graduate students. There were challenging issues of communicability and isolationism. So however, the class was constructed to anticipate such challenges by encouraging students to conduct collaborative learning. So they were assigned to learn and the materials in order to teach the others. And then by utilizing existing technology as mediating tools, by recording the videos and uploading on the YouTube so that the other students could access and critical review to the video lectures. And then the third one is facilitating students to demonstrate their learning progress, utilizing modular learning approach. So the students couldn't proceed without gradually completing a rare task. This gamification principle was found to be fascinating to graduate students, especially since it provides some structure for them to learn. And then the 2-1, midterm course feedback from the students largely sent a strong message that the course was run at the superior level. And then from those mediating factors, we can conclude that the challenges and the potentials mostly are found in tools, because this current online learning system forces the educators integrated technology and the learning system. And then these are the references from us. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much, Miss Stella and Miss Irene, for your engaging presentation. Let's give them a big applause. Okay, so before we move on to the third presentation, I'd like to inform you that 5 minutes before the third presentation ends, the chat box will be opened for you to address your questions. You may address your questions by typing your name, underscores affiliation, underscores to whom the questions will be addressed, and then followed by your questions. Okay, so now without further ado, now we are going to have the third presentation entitled Managing the Self-Directed Learning in the Online Classes of the English Extension course. It will be delivered by Christina Kristiani and Anissa Agra Inggitachna from Sanata Dharma University. For the presenters, you have 15 minutes. So, Miss Kristiani and Inggitachna, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for the time given. I'll try to share the screen first. Okay, can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, clearly, Miss.
Okay, so thank you for the time, and today I'll be presenting about managing the self-directed learning in the online classes of the English Extension course. This is from me and Miss Nani, and Miss Nani is there just presenting before. So before Miss Nani have in her presentation, she talked about the undergraduate students, and then Miss Irene talked about the graduate students, and now I'll be talking about English Extension course students. Okay, first thing is, wait, where's my mouse? Okay, the background of this research is actually before the English Extension course is conducted in the normal situation, and it can run successfully as a part of self-development studies. And then now, as there is a pandemic, we need to move on to an online learning. So we will be looking at how they are changing to the online learning and how it affect the students in this different situation. English Extension course students come from different institutions and have normally they have the class in the afternoon, and then for having the class in the afternoon, they actually have different background because they are working or they are studying in another university or they're doing something else. And they are usually highly motivated because they already have obtained a good asset for a successful learning. Yeah, this is a little background about what I just explained. EEC, if you haven't known it before, it is a certified general English course. It is a 4-semester course, and it is in Sanata Dharma University. Here are some information that they are still working. Some of them are still undergraduate student or graduate student, or some of them are just high school graduate, because the requirement for joining English Extension course is the minimum is to graduate from high school. And then, yeah, they take extension course normally for their self-development. And from those background, we come up with a research question of how did the students respond to the online class? And then how did they exercise their self-directed learning in the online class in English Extension course? The method of this research is an online survey. We give a survey through online platform and then triangulated the result of the survey with the document from the online class. And then the participant, of course, it is the English Extension course students. So we will talk a bit about self-directed learning before moving on to the result of the research. The self-directed learning is actually a process in which individuals take the initiative without the help of others in planning, carrying out, and evaluating their own learning experiences. So they are doing all by themselves, like doing the learning, planning their learning, and carrying out the learning. So this is what the students need to do. They make decision about the content of their learning, the method of their learning, the resources, how do they find the resources, and how do they evaluate their learning. And then, yeah, they are responsible for their learning, their own learning process. And then, the benefit of having self-directed learning is that the learning can be easily incorporated into daily routines, and then it occur but at the learner's convenience and according to our own learning preferences. For example, if you don't have enough time to to join the classes or stuff, you can take care of the learning yourself, like planning your learning by yourself or doing it somewhere else. You are not restricted by the time and not restricted by the place. And then, however, there's a limitation for this self-directed learning, because self-directed learning can actually be difficult for adults, maybe for people with low-level literacy skill who may lack independence, they lack confidence, and then lack internal motivation or resources. So they cannot find their own resources, they cannot find motivation in doing it by themselves, so they need someone else to keep them motivated. Okay, so that is about the self-directed learning, and then we will move on to the result and discussion. For the first research question is, how did the students respond to the online class? So we gave them question asking them to choose a maximum of 3 pictures which represent their feelings in doing the online class. Like this is the 9 pictures we asked them to choose. They can choose a maximum of 3, and then the highest rank of this picture is this 3. So 50% of the participants choose that online learning is great, but then in the same time 50% choose that it is still confusing, and then the other 42.9% says that they are happy with the online learning. So the reasons underlying the feelings are like, we are asking them about why do you pick that what is it, emoticon? Why did you pick that emoticon to represent your feeling? Like it says that they're having unstable signal, so maybe that is why they are feeling confused. And then they also say that the class is interactive, that's why they feel happy about the class, and then they feel the class is great. However, there are also they also state that the class is flexible. They can actually choose whether they want to grab some meal while doing the class. And some other things is like they find it that the material is hard to understand, and then they find it that they cannot build connection with other people or the lecturer, probably because they are not meeting them face to face, not meeting them directly. So it is harder to build direct connection with other people. Like you cannot talk a lot with your friends, you cannot talk with your lecturer after class, because after the Zoom meeting, probably the lecturer just leave the meeting right away, so you cannot talk to them. Yeah, so this is the reason underlying the feelings. And then the next thing is, we asked them about their expectation related to online classes, and then some of the answers are stated here. Like they expect for more participants from the students, for more an active class, like everyone will be participating actively in class, like not just silence and then turning off the camera and muting ourselves, those kind of things. And then maybe being given the answer key after finishing exercises, like when they are doing exercise, they want to check whether they are right or wrong, and then knowing why they are wrong and all those stuff. So they expect to have be given the answer key. And then they also expect of the use of variation methods, like not only using Zoom, but also using online worksheet, recording audio, and presentation, etc. And also getting more feedback from the lecturer. This I think is also important myself as a student, because in online learning, I found out that we found out that we are getting busier, and then the lecturer is also getting busier, so there are less feedback from the lecturer, and then we cannot actually meet directly to with the lecturer. So the lecturer cannot actually just like give a random comment like your assignment is, those kind of things. And then the next thing is they also expect to be able to access all materials through LMS. So even though they are having a Zoom meeting or online meeting, classroom meeting, but they still expect to have the materials in LMS because maybe they want to refer back to the materials. And then, we also asked them whether they are more into virtual meetings or activities in LMS. And if you see the question, okay, if you see the question there, the first one on this side, it actually asks like, it actually stated, I like to have my online class with all virtual meetings. And then most of them say, not most of them, more than 50% of them says no. And then in this one, we asked about whether they like to have the activities in LMS. More than 50% says yes. And then this part also state about the LMS, and then more than 50% says yes. So we can actually see that they're more directed into having all the activities in LMS rather than having virtual meetings. Okay, so that is for the research question number 1, and we will also discuss the research question on number 2. How did they exercise their self-directed learning in online classes in English extension course? So first of all, they need to know their needs and goal for having the self-directed learning. And we asked them their goals is, of course, to improve their English, and what they need. They state that they need to use English actively in class, so they expect to have an active class. They also need materials, so they also need feedbacks and stuff, and then more exercises. And suddenly one of them actually mentioned they need a good quality of sleep.
Sorry, Miss, you have 5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you, Miss Hannah.
Yes.
And then the next thing, we also asked them, like, for self-directed learning, we asked them what is their activity before the online class. In this part, they can actually pick more than one option, so the total percentage might not be 100%. Okay, so the first thing, like 64.3% said that they open the material on D-Day, and then another 35.7% said that they browse the material from the internet before class, so they find another resources by themselves, looking for more resources. And then this is another 35.7% also refers to the course outline set in the beginning of the class, so they check the course outline and then look for information and open the material. And then there's this 7.1% that read references for the related topic, but then there is a random 7.1% who did not do anything. And then the next thing, this is also another way of finding the resources. If they have question during the class or after class, what do they do? Most of them actually answer it right away, asking the lecturer. This is some screenshot of to prove that they're asking the lecturer. This is from Miss Nani, I guess. And then after asking the lecturer, they also choose to ask the classmate, make a discussion in the LMS, asking the classmate for the difficulties that they find, or they also choose to find the answer by themselves. And then in self-directed learning, you also need to evaluate yourself after doing the progress and stuff. And then we asked them what actually the difficulty that they faced during the online classes. And then most of them, nearly it's like 78%, it's quite kind of high. They say that the difficulties lies because of the they cannot have more interaction with the lecturer since it is a virtual meeting and there is a limited time for the virtual meeting. And then just below that, they also say that they cannot have discussion with the classmates. So I guess the communication and interaction between the students with the lecturer and the classmate is really important because of the online learning, they cannot actually do it. And then 50% of them says that they want to listen to the lecturer more. Maybe the lecturer need to teach more, make some more videos, yeah. And then this is kind of important, this one, because 42.9% actually says that they do not know how to do discussion online with the other. Yeah, and then we will just move since the time is, yeah. And then this one is what do they do after class, like 50% just, let's just move on and do and go for another class. And then the other one, they decide to summarize, read more, or review the materials. And then here, after knowing all those things, we found out that the participants of this research are putting their effort to be able to learn in limited circumstances because they need to work in the online condition, and then it brings them to the stage of self-directed learning and let them become responsible of their own learning. However, yeah, as I state before, as I show you before, there's 42% of the participants who do not know how to discuss online with the others. This is like the limitation of having self-directed learning, that yeah, they do not know how to communicate online, so they cannot find resources, they cannot be independent and those things. And in conclusion, for the first research question, we found out that the students are the responses were related to the feelings and expectation from the online classes. They're happy, they're feeling great for the online classes, but still confused. And another one is that the students have various way of managing their learning and preparation during and after the online class. And most of them showed that students manage to proceed to the self-directed learning activities, especially in after class session. The activities might become from selecting resources, guides, and information, and all the stuff. And yeah, I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Agra. So thank you for your insightful presentation. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, so because we have listened to the 3 presentations, now it is time for the Q&A session. As I have mentioned before, you may address your question from the chat box, or you may also address it directly by clicking the reaction emoticon here, raising your hand. Okay, so here we already have several questions. I think it is from Mr. Marcus. The first question here for Miss Nani, Bu Nani. So Mr. Marcus is curious to know further what both lecturer and student felt about the limited opportunities to more fully engage in the learning throughout the period, and to what extent have the activities done by the lecturers satisfied the needs to meet and physically engage with each other? Okay, that's the first question, Miss. You may answer it.
Okay, thank you, Pak Marcus. So yes, we did have a really, what is it? We felt that we missed something. Yeah. So the physical engagement is really important, especially because you need to also, if we are talking about the preparation for the teacher education, then we need to give them more feedback and more encouragement and practice more skill related to how they will manage the classroom and so forth and so on. Yeah. But unfortunately, because of the situation, we cannot do that, but we managed to at that time, because that was the first 3 months, yeah, at that time we managed to be satisfied. If you want to say that this one is like a academic satisfaction, yeah, through the discussion online, through the WeChat group, and also to the discussion forum, as well as to the use of the Padlet platform. Yeah, at that time, actually, we are trying to give the student opportunity to meet virtually, but because of some reason, we cannot use that. So yes, during the time, we were satisfied in terms of the academic engagement, even though we have very limited facilities. But doing the synchronous activity in written form can also become a good discussion.
How
Thank you.
significant are the feelings in learning?
Okay, thank you, Miss Nani.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So for the second question, also from Mr. Marcus, but this one is directed to Mbak Agra. He thought that it is interesting to see how you gathered the feelings of the students, but how significant are the feelings in learning? And then why do you need to listen to what your students feel? And then, is it better for you to listen to what they feel or what they think? Okay, that's are the questions.
Okay,
You
I'll
may
try
answer.
to answer the question from Mr. Marcus. Thank you for the question, Mr. Marcus. So the feeling actually connected to the motivation of the students. Like if they are feeling the class is okay, so they're I think that they will be more motivated for the class. And then if the class is like not good, they feel less motivated, so they don't have the will to learn more, to find their own resources in learning, and yeah, those kind of things. Does that answer the question, sir?
So, in your perspective, sorry to jump in.
Yeah.
In your perspective, which is more powerful in terms of do we need to listen more to what they feel or what they think?
In my perspective, I wait. Yeah, I think feeling is important, because yeah, through the motivation for their own willingness to learn. Because if they don't have the willingness to learn, they don't actually go for more finding for more information, for learning, for learning more, for looking for more information and stuff.
We could
Yeah,
say
maybe.
that you prioritize feelings rather than the thinking.
Well, I guess it's like similar, not really prioritizing on feeling, but also like feeling is still important, but not really like prioritizing on feelings.
But you set out very clearly that you highlight feelings first rather than thinking, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm just curious to know what background do you have? Is it based on your feelings, based on your thinking?
The background on what, sir?
On your position, because you said that you listen more to the feelings.
For me, myself, personally.
Yeah, rather than listening to the thinking. And my question is, what is the background of such a position? Is it from your own perspective, or did you get the idea from other empirical studies?
Sorry, Miss Agra and Mr. Marcus, but we almost reached the time limit. So if Miss Agra wants to answer it, you may answer it shortly, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I guess it's more on the thinking than the feeling.
No,
But
no,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but this is very important, and this
Uh-huh.
is for everyone. I'm amazed with how your female uh, intuition, emotions is much more powerful than thinking. This has been corroborated by recent research in neuroscience. So you're right. Feelings are
Okay.
much more powerful than thinking, and it's been corroborated, validated by research in neuroscience.
Okay.
So you're right.
Yeah. Thank you for the insight, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. But we have reached the end of our session here. And as Mr. Marcus said, that feelings is more powerful. Now my feelings is very powerful because I'm very happy to listen to all the presentation and also to have all of the enthusiasm in this parallel session. Okay, so thank you very much for the wonderful presentations and all the enthusiasm in this session. Now we are going to have our third keynote speaker from 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock. Now, for the documentation, please, show your face, beautiful and handsome faces, so we could take a picture together. Okay, now I could see all the enthusiastic faces. Okay, Mas operator, are you ready? Okay, so I will count 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, the next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, is it enough? One more? Okay, one more time. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, is it enough? Okay, thank you very much for your participation. Enjoy the rest of the conference. See you anytime, anywhere. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you, moderator.
You're
Good job,
welcome.
Thank
moderator.
you.